Hey everyone, I'm trying to go live and figure out my phone and do all this by myself. So welcome to Erie Christian Church, Food for the Soul. We're excited that you're here and watching today. If you remember, we were going to make homemade mozzarella sticks tonight. This is one of our family's favorites, and it takes some time, but it's really well worth it. A lot better than the stuff you can get in the freezer, but we hope you really enjoy it. So there's lots of things that you need for tonight. Not really a lot. It depends on how much seasoning you want in yours. So first of all, you want to start off with your mozzarella sticks. We use the fathead or the cheese heads because we think those are the best, but you can use even, maybe you don't like the mozzarella and you want to use like double cheddar or Monterey Jack or Colby Jack or whatever kind of cheese stick you like, those will work. I originally said 12. This recipe actually calls for 16, so it's whatever you want to do. As little as many as you want. The best thing about this recipe is that you can freeze them and you can cook them later. So that's one of the pluses. So you need your cheese sticks, and then you're going to need a half a cup of flour, and then we're going to add something to that later, but I'll tell you about that in a minute. Then you're going to need 2 eggs and a quarter cup of milk. You need some breadcrumbs, 1.5 cups of those, maybe a little bit more than that. I like to bread a little bit more, and we're going to explain that here in a few minutes. And then some dried parsley, which is always nice to have, and then salt and pepper, and then you'll need a frying pan because you need to fry these up. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So you're going to take your cheese sticks and you're going to open them up, obviously. And I did some of these ahead of time because I kind of struggle with opening these things. This is where my girls come in handy when they're around. And of course, now I can't open them. But you want to get them open and you want to have them whole. And you're going to put them on a plate or a cutting board, whatever works for you. And we're going to cut them in half. And of course, now I can't open these at all because I'm under pressure. Hope everybody's having a good week. We're having a great week with our camp that we're doing online. Hopefully you've been able to check into our Facebook page and you're listening to some of those lessons, checking out Hope, listening to her worship. It's been incredible. Just a lot of fun that we're having so far. All right, so I have all my cheese sticks, and like I said, it calls for 16. I've already done some because I'm going to show you here in a few minutes. So I have 8, and so what you want to do is just cut those in half. Doesn't really take much effort. Just cut them in half and then kind of move them to the side because this plate is what I'm going to use in a little bit because you actually have to freeze these before you bake them. So go ahead and chop those up in half. Like I said, it doesn't take too long, and they may not be the same size. It doesn't have to be perfect. This just makes smaller cheese sticks, which is nice, and then they go farther, so it's really good. All right, so now I have all my little cheese sticks. I know it's kind of hard to see, but they're all on my plate. And what I need to do now is I need to come to my bowls full of stuff. So I have my half a cup of flour, and what I said when I added to this is that the original recipe calls for Emerald's essence. And I'm assuming you can buy that. I'm not really sure. Emerald was you could watch him on TV and he'd create things, which is really cool. So I'm guessing this is like one of his seasonings. But his Emerald's essence, I have to read it to you because there's just so much in it. There's paprika and salt, garlic powder, oregano, black pepper, onion powder, cayenne pepper, and thyme. So there's a lot of different spices in there. You can pick and choose what you want to put in there, or you don't have to put any spice in there at all. It doesn't make it spicy. It just kind of gives it a little more flavor. So we always have a little bit of Emerald's essence already made up. And so I already scooped a good half a teaspoon into my flour. And so just like I said, gives a little extra flavor. You don't have to do that, but if you want to, that's available. So we have to do these in order. So I've whisked up my egg. I added the milk in with the egg because that's important to keep that. That's step 2. And then I have my breadcrumbs, and I mixed in my parsley already, and I'm going to throw in a little bit of pepper and salt, just a little extra flavor. All right, so now comes the messy part. You know how I'm messy, but I don't like to make a mess. So we take half of our cheese stick, and we put it in the flour first. And this, I made a huge mess earlier as I was doing this. So you just really kind of want to pat it on to your breadstick, or your cheese stick, excuse me. And it's going to look like this. It's just going to have powder all over it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to dip it in my egg wash. And you kind of roll it around. You don't really want to poke at it too much because you don't want the flour to come off. And then you pick it up and it's going to be eggy and gross. Try not to think too much of it, and that just fell. That was funny. And you just put it into your breadcrumbs. And I use different utensils per bowl because they get gunky like we talked about before with other things in the past. So I just go ahead and do that. Now we found that when we did this the very first time, they were good. But the second time my daughter Kara made them, she said, what if we double breaded them? So she's a thinker in the kitchen. So we take it out, and this is what it looks like when you bread it once. And then we go ahead and dip it right back into the egg wash again, because double breading makes them crispier and gives them a little more flavor. And after the egg wash, you bring them back into your breadcrumbs. And you just do this with every one of them. It takes a little bit of time. I worked on some earlier today to show you here in a few minutes. And then when it's all done, I put them right back on that plate that I had that I cut them up on, because I could stick that in the freezer. It doesn't take a lot of space. And so you will have some egg hanging off and some extra parts. Just, you can put those to the side. And again, we'll just repeat. So we'll do the flour mixture first, or just the flour. And then you take it out. I try not to touch them much. That way then it doesn't have anything that comes off of them. I put them in my egg wash, roll it around. And your egg wash will get goopy with all kinds of stuff. It's totally fine, just gives more flavor. And then after the egg wash goes straight to our breadcrumbs. And again, you don't have to double bread them. That is completely and entirely up to you. But I know my family likes them that way, and so since that's what we're gonna have as our appetizer tonight, I'm gonna go ahead and double coat those. And this is just gonna take some time, but it's not a bad thing. It just, you can watch TV, or you can listen to music while you do this, visit with your family, whatever you like to do. And so I'd like you just to keep coating those, and while you do that, I'd like to share our scripture and devotional thought for you today. So I'll wipe off my hands real quick. All right, so this actually is the verse of the day on the Bible app, and I know I talk about that every week, but the Bible app is such a great thing, and we utilize that so much in our lives here at home and at church. And so if you don't have that, it's the YouVersion Bible app, and it's free, and you can download that on your phone, and it's really awesome, or on your tablet or your computer. So we'd love to have you check into that, and then that way you can help yourself be in the Word a little bit more. All right, and so today's verse comes from Psalm chapter 28, and it's verse 7. I just loved it. It just gave me joy for the day, and so I want to share it with you. Psalm 28 verse 7 says, "The Lord is my strength and my shield. My heart trusts in him, and I am helped. My heart leaps for joy, and I will give thanks to him in song." My heart leaps for joy. You know, it's so beautiful outside right now. The weather has been just incredible, and I have flowers that are bursting forth, which have been really nice. I've been waiting really for a long time for one of them to open, and it finally opened today, and I was so excited. It's just one flower, but I have been waiting all year for it to come back and open up, and so it's just been a lot of fun doing that and watching that. And there's so many things that our hearts can leap with joy for God. And like I said earlier, with the camp, we've had lessons and scriptures and different things that we've done, and we've had Hope singing, and that just makes my heart leap for joy with song, and I just love to hear her, and that brings joy, and we've been able to share that with so many people. And so I hope that there's things this week that even if something hasn't gone right, or maybe you haven't felt as happy, maybe this verse will give you joy and remind you of all the things that God has for you and the great blessings that he has. So I hope that gives you encouragement. Again, that was Psalm 28 verse 7, and it's one of my new favorites for sure. So hopefully you're still mixing up your cheese sticks, and you're getting them ready. And once they're all done and they all look like this and they're all coated, you're going to stick that in the freezer for just a half hour. So it's not very long. It gives you time to clean up your mess if you're like me, and get ready for the next process. So what I'm going to do is kind of put these to the side, and I'm going to pull out the ones that I've had in the freezer. So I'm going to move the camera so it's not all just on me. And I'm going to move you over here, because the next phase is, maybe I can bring it down here, is to put them in the skillet. So there we go. This is hard to do by yourself. All right, so I'm gonna grab these out of the freezer. They've been chilling for a little while, and they look like this. So nice, and they're cold, which is nice when you want to fry these up. So you need to have a nice warm skillet. It's just like bacon. You don't want to do them too fast. So you want to cook slowly. So if you're in a hurry, this is not the recipe for you. So I'm going to put a little bit of butter in my pan. If you don't like to use butter, that's totally fine. We like butter. And so you can put olive oil, which is really healthy, which is good. Or even better for you, you can do these in the air fryer. We did try that one time to see what we would think of that, and they were good, but not as good as frying them. I don't know much that is really good besides frying. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it this way so you can see. It's hard to see if you can see. Okay, there we go. All right, so I have my skillet. I'm going to grab my tongs because that seems to help a lot. And I'm just going to start sticking them in. And like I said, you don't want to do them too fast. They're nice and frozen, and basically all you're going to do is try to get them so they start to melt inside. It's like when you make a grilled cheese. It takes a little bit of time and patience. So I am going to turn my stove up just a little bit more, maybe to a 3 or a 4, kind of like you would for a grilled cheese. But I always like to start it on low so it slowly heats this up, so then when I do it, it doesn't burn them. Because we've done these before and they don't taste very good burnt. So I'm just going to keep sticking them on here, except for they sometimes stick to the pan they were already on. So I don't know if you can see that. There we go. So this is what they look like in the pan. Well, no, I don't know where I'm looking. There we go. So they're in the pan and they're just going to kind of do their own thing here. And you just keep turning them and let the butter get on them and just wait for them to crisp up a little bit and melt. And they're really good. So with this being camp week, I'd love to hear if any of you have any camp stories. Have you been to camp before? Things that you loved about camp. Things that you miss about camp, maybe things that you didn't really like about camp. Would love to hear about that. Please feel free to go ahead and put that on there. We'd love to hear that. But it's been a challenge because we're not together, but it's been okay. We've been able to put a lot of videos out there, and hopefully a lot of people have been watching and getting the Word of God in their hearts, and so that's been the exciting part of this. So I'm just going to keep turning these, because the more you turn them, it's just like bacon. The more you turn them, the better they cook and more evenly. And I wanted to show you what they look like when they're all done, but these are going to take a little longer, but it won't be too bad. I have it turned up just so, and maybe you're still coating yours, which is totally fine, because like I said, it does take time. But after you coat them and you go to put them in the freezer, if you're not going to eat them right away, go ahead and put them in a freezer bag and save them for later, because it's okay for them to sit in the freezer for a while, so you can then take them out as you need it. And maybe you want to put just a few in a small baggie, and you can just pull those out as needed or as you want to use them, and then you're not pulling them all out and letting them all thaw, because it's hard to refreeze something after it's thawed, and it doesn't taste as good either. So I still have mine cooking here. I'll bring it over here so you can see. There we go. So they're just chilling in there, cooking slow, but it's nice and to do it nice and even. And you can see all those parsley flakes on there. And I use the Italian breadcrumbs because I like the extra flavor, which is really nice. You could use whatever you want. Again, different kinds of cheese sticks. There's just all kinds of options that you can do. That's again, like I said last week, that's the best part about cooking it. It's a suggestion. It's something that says, hey, this is a good start, but do what you want and do what works for you and what you like. And so I love that option. So you just keep cooking these till they brown up and get a little crispier. And sometimes you might have to add a little more butter. If you add too much, then it gets soggy, and then they're not quite as good, even though we like butter, but I don't like soggy. So you just keep turning them and eventually they get done. And you'll know that they're done because, like I said, they're crispy on the outside, but you can kind of squish them and that cheese is softer. And so then you know that you have them all done and they're ready to go. You definitely don't want to cook these too early before you eat because you'd like to have them nice and warm. They cool off quick. And so this is usually something that we do right before we eat. This makes a nice appetizer, a nice addition to even a meal. Maybe you're having spaghetti or pizza, whatever you like to eat your mozzarella sticks with. So I'll show you again what they look like. Probably won't get them all done before we're done here, but just to give you an idea. So a nice skillet with a little bit of butter, so you can't really see a lot of butter sitting around, but you can see it how it's kind of coating on the mozzarella sticks. And like I said, you just keep turning until they soften up in the middle and they're crispy on the outside. All right, well, good luck. I hope you have a great time making your mozzarella sticks, and we'd love to see your finished product. I love when people take pictures and then post it on this post here, so please do that for us. Or if you have a different variety that you do with yours, we'd love to hear it because we want to share with one another and we want to have this time together. So I'm so grateful that